problem. I am very excited to introduce Lily Abbass, who is the Associate Regional Director General for Newfoundland and Labrador Fisheries and Oceans Canada. Lily has been doing some fantastic work over in Newfoundland. She won the 2018 Apex Award for Healthy Workplaces based on the work that she's been doing. And it's really about leadership and the human element about how do we help the people that work in our organizations. Lily, would you like to say a few words?
Oh, this is really good. This is for average height people. It's true, isn't it? I'm going to take my glasses off. So I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to think about it, and I want you to have it roll around your brain as I wax on about things. Have you ever felt that everything you've experienced in your life or in your career, good or bad, has led you to this point in your life? I'm going to repeat that. Have you ever felt that everything you ever experienced in your life and in your career, good and bad, has prepared you for this point in your life? For me, that's what the wellness program in our region is all about. It was everything that brought me to that point. So you know that I've won the award for Healthy Workplace from Apex, a huge honor, something that my coworkers nominated me for, which means so much. You heard Lynn say that when that nomination comes from your coworkers and your colleagues, it just means that much more. But I'm going to tell you the story of how that came about. And this is a lot about storytelling. And as I tell those stories, I will highlight the lessons that I've learned along the way. And I still am on that journey. It's not over yet, and never will be over, and thank God for that, because we always are learning. Now, there are going to be 13 lessons I'm going to tell you about, and the reason for 13, I have to say, is because my son, my oldest son, was born on June 13th, and for some reason, 13 finds its way into everything I do. Not only that, but you will hear a little bit about my mother. She also figures prominently in most everything I do, and it's been her advice and her support that has gotten me here. And she and my sister just dropped me off, and my mother, who suffers from dementia, said to me, "Now, you represent me well because I can't be there." I said, "Mom, you figure prominently in my talk today." She said, "Good, because I can't be there." But she is there with me, and you'll hear about the influence she has had on my journey to wellness. So, I have been involved in workplace wellness well before it was named workplace wellness. It was named many things. In the federal government, we talked about La Relève and PS Renewal and Blueprint 2020 and on it goes. But I think workplace wellness has always been part of what I've been trying to do in my career. I was asked to be the chair of an interdepartmental diversity committee years ago. It was part of Federal Regional Council. And we had as a theme, as a theme, our vision statement was that a workplace where everyone felt valued and respected. That's workplace wellness. That was many years ago. I was the chair of an internal communications committee for 15 years. That internal communications committee was to try to improve communications up, down, and sideways within the organization so that people felt connected and valued. By any other name, workplace wellness. In 1997, just after joining the Fisheries and Oceans, because I was with Transport Canada for the first 7 or 8 years of my career, I was asked to speak at a senior managers conference in Cornwall. And there I was asked to speak on internal communications. And in my speech, I found the speech notes, and it was in yellow scribbler paper, you know. And one of the things I said was, and I want you to remember this too now, one of the things I said in terms of a recommendation in improving communications and managers' ability to manage people where there should be a mandatory course for managers and supervisors on how to manage people. Because we all got here on a management scale because of our technical expertise, not because of our ability to manage people. And that becomes our downfall. Now, I know Moira, you'll remember that because Moira took a course recently called Workplace Wellness Workshop for Managers and Supervisors, which is mandatory for managers and supervisors in the Newfoundland and Labrador region. That was 21 years ago that I made that statement. So, I was also involved in 2001. I was part of a 3-week think tank, and we were supposed to redesign the public service of Canada. And I was on a group where we were supposed to be infusing innovation. We were supposed to be saying, okay, this is an innovative public service. And this was a public service where people could make mistakes and feel supported at the same time. What's that called? Today it's called workplace wellness. So I've been involved in this my entire career. So I came to a point a couple of years ago when I was handed a gift. And that gift was Lily, the Regional Director General, Kevin Anderson, said to me, our priority this year has to be workplace wellness. And it was like a gift he gave to me. And the great support and the freedom to do as I saw best for the organization with the help from a lot of people. So I'll tell you about that. So why now? Why now did I get to do the wellness program? Why is it now that we have the wonderful conference like this, Ian? Why is it we're here to do this now? I don't think before now people were willing to listen. I think something, at least for my organization, we had to experience something traumatic for people to sit up, take notice, shake things up, and say, we cannot go on like this. So, 2 years ago, Newfoundland and Labrador region underwent a violence in the workplace investigation. It was very destructive. It was divisive. It was emotional. We are still trying to rebuild from that. I think at that point, we understood that things had to change. So in March of 2016, they handed us the report. It was bad. We had failed at many levels. And although it was maybe confined to one area of the organization, really it had impacts on all of the organization. And every organization has these aspects. Every organization that you're a part of, we have these issues that we have to address. So we weren't unique, but it was our organization that we had to address these issues. So I wrote an implementation plan. And the Regional Director General said, yes, go for it. Let's implement. Great. So I began to do my research. And I spoke to consultants, I spoke to the Canadian Mental Health Association, I did a lot of reading, I spoke to my colleagues. But then I had to consult other people. So I'm going to get into my talk and talk about those lessons now. There are 13 lessons. So the first lesson I have, don't give up. Be persistent, stay the course, don't be derailed, have the unwavering commitment, all those things, whatever you want to say, just don't give up. So my very first job was a very difficult one. It wasn't in the public service. And I had a boss who was quite abusive. I was cursed at, not just by my boss, but others in the organization. They were going through a grave change. I represented all those things that represented change. I really didn't even have my office in the same building because the building was too small, yet it was a brand new building. So I was the subject of an awful lot of frustration and abuse. And one time, when I was spoken to in front of a group of grade 9 students where he was cursing at me, this was down in a particular lab, I was devastated. There was a complaint to the president. The president had to try to address this, but I had been spoken to so badly. So I called my mother like I would do, and I told her what happened. And she said, okay, this is what you do. Now, tomorrow morning, you go down in front of that man's office. You wait for him to come in, and you say to him just 4 words. Can we start over? So I did what my mom told me. I sat outside his office. He came to his door, and I looked at him, and I said, my mom asked me if I could ask you, can we start over? And we did. And he became a very close friend who gave me insight as to why he had acted the way he did, and insight into why others were acting the way they did. It was this reaction to change. They just did not want to move forward, and I understood that. But I realized there was going to be one person at a time, and that was exhausting. But I did not give up. I did not stop doing the things I felt were right. Just don't give up. The boss that I tell you about, he also reduced his own assistants to tears. I would have to go into the bathroom on a regular basis, pick them up off the floor, say, okay, everything's going to be cool, we're going to go in, I'm going to tell them off. I'd go in, I'd have a conversation with him. He was very remorseful, but then it would start over and over again. It was just getting tiring, but in other words, he was a very intelligent man, but just didn't have the skills. He wasn't equipped to manage individuals, and the stress he wasn't able to deal with very well. So I learned an awful lot from him, an awful lot about what not to do. And I also had another boss there who I learned an awful lot about what to do. And he was a 6'5" man who used to look down at me, and he'd say, I have to write you a memo. And the memo says, I'm the boss, Lily. You can't be telling me what to do. And I said, but Jack, he was wonderful to me. He used to take me on a drive whenever things would get really bad, and I would get maybe obscene phone calls, or I'd get this sheet of paper where it was an evaluation form for the newsletter I used to do every week. And it came back, and right across, I scrumpled up, right across said, bullshit. I said, that's really good, an endorsement. So he came, and he'd say, come on, we're going to take you for a drive. He'd take me for a drive. He'd say, Lily, this isn't about you. This is about human nature. This is about people not having the ability to deal with change. They long for being back at the old building. They long for, there not being a focus on public relations. My responsibility was to improve communications within the organization and to market it nationally and internationally. It was a tough job. I was very young. I had a lot of responsibility and a lot of authority, and they didn't like any of that. And he would say, they have to just get to know you. I'm thinking, this is a big organization. This is going to take a bit of time. In any event, then I came to the federal government, and within a couple of months, I had a run-in with one of the senior executives. I thought, can it get any worse? I felt like I'd gone from the frying pan into the fire. I was being accused of deserting my post because I had to go to a mandatory orientation course, which was mandatory at the time, and I was having my predecessor come back to stand in for me at a press conference with Minister Crosby. And he speaks to me at home. He's on the phone with me, and I'm there, just hang on a minute. He says, don't you get uppity with me. Slams the phone down, writes a letter to the director of operations because I reported to Ottawa. I call my manager in Ottawa, and I said, I don't think I want to stay here. It was bad enough where I was before, but I feel like I've gone from the frying pan into the fire. And the first thing I asked was, is this the way all workplaces are? Is this what I have to deal with now for the rest of my career? This can't be. That's what I thought. But I just continued to plod on because he said, no, Lily, you don't have to take any of this. Don't you worry about it. And he paved the way for me. He understood that I was more of a byproduct. There was frustration between individuals, and I was the one who got it. It's interesting. I must have that written on me. Let me just see what else I wanted to tell you. Oh, so this man who said, don't get uppity with me and wrote the letter, well, who do you think I call? I call my mother. I said, Mom, how am I going to deal with this guy? You know, this is the way it's going to be. I'm going to be here for how many years, blah, blah, blah. So my mother said, okay, this is what you do. She told me what to wear, how to sit, how to act, what to say. And I went in, and I sat exactly how she told me to. I wore exactly what she told me to. I said exactly what she said. Now, the real interesting thing is he was lovely, and everything was good, and we became very good colleagues. Years go by. I'm in a new department. He happens to be there, too. I happened to tell him a few years after that I had called my mother to try to get some help with how to deal with him, and he thought that was very funny. Fast forward a few more years, he's in a position of authority. We're sitting down. There's a lull in the conversation. We happen to be talking about seals. And there's this lull in the conversation, and he turns and he says, maybe we should call your mother. So he retired then several years later, and he asked me to be his MC. And I told my mom, and so she sent him a message. So I shared him with the message at his dinner. So as you see, my mother is very important in all of my struggles. She has gotten me through, and I don't give out her number because she's mine. But anyway, so did I go over one? Okay, so you stay the course. Don't be derailed, right? Isn't that weird now? I went right to 3. What happened to 2? Oh, yes, this is where my mother tells me. Okay, so what happened to 2? That's weird. So anyway, very early on in my career, I seemed to be one who attracted a lot of people. They wanted to come and talk to me. They perhaps thought that I was a good listener, and I work on that every day, and that I would help them. I would stand up for injustice. I would not be a spectator, that I would, try to help them in any way I can. And I would do that. But as a result, I wasn't getting any work done. So I called my mother. I said, Mom, I didn't get any work done today. I'm so frustrated because there's people coming in all the time. And my mother said, that's not your job. Your job isn't to get work done. Your job is to be present to people. I said, okay, you'll get that work done elsewhere. And I did. To this day, when someone walks in my office, I might be over my head in work. I stop what I'm doing, I turn, and I'm present to them. You cannot go wrong by being present to people. Lynn is present to people. She told us she was there for 130 people. What would happen if she wasn't present to those people? You all need someone to be present to you. I need someone to be present to me as well. So that's lesson number 2, and for some reason it's not here. Lesson number 3, relationships are critical. But I will tell you, the relationships are 2 relationships, right? One is, oh my God, they got all mixed up. That's why. I got to go back, because it's right important. So, stay the course, right? Oh, this was really important. For staying the course. So that perseverance and that tenacity that I talked to you about? Some people call it stubbornness, or a dog with a bone. Doesn't matter. Stay the course in that you keep your focus on what's best and what's right? At the end of our very first course on workplace wellness, this was the course that I told you Moira took on workplace wellness for managers and supervisors. It's a 2-day course. At the end of that very first course, my boss stood up and, gave me great accolades about how, this was all developed, it was all wonderful. But what he said to me really, really spoke to me. You know what he said? Lily, we finally listened. They weren't ready to listen. For years, I've been working with this man for 22 years. They weren't ready to listen, but they were then. And since that time, we've had 6 of those courses, and we've reached over 300 managers and supervisors, and we'll continue. Okay, so I told you be present to people. The next is relationships are critical. So, 2, employees. Do you know how many people I meet when I go to Winners? Every weekend I go to Winners, I meet so many people. Sobeys is another one, and recently Costco. I told Jennifer Fowler Costco was recent. I was asked to speak at my own HRCS, HR and Corporate Services workshop one year on work-life balance. Winners, I think, was 3 of the 10 ways that I keep saying in my job, winners. And so after this conference, or the one-day conference, I happened to be at Winners. And one of my coworkers came and said, "My God, you weren't lying, were you?" I said, "No, I come to Winners." He brings over his wife and their son, introduces them, said, "This is Lily. Remember I told you? She goes to Winners, she's here." I'm thinking, oh my God, how embarrassing is this? But doesn't matter. How many people, and you have wonderful, wonderful conversations at Winners, so that when there's an issue in the workplace, they know you know them, and you work through it. So not that long ago, an employee reached out to me and asked if he could speak to me. And I said, sure. And he was at a crossroads in his career and his life. He came into my office, and I think one of the first things he said to me was, "Do you remember when I introduced you to my mother at Sobeys?" I said, "Yes, I do. And how's your mother?" And he became emotional. That was the connection. That was why he came. Not because of my title, not because of who I am, because he met me and I was a human and thought maybe he could trust me and I could help him. And I did everything I can, and I would do everything I can. Another time someone else came and said, "Do you remember when you said hello to me at Sobeys?" And I just happened to know her name. Isn't that wonderful? The fact of the matter is that that's probably our most prized possession, just to say someone's name, right? And to know it is important. So those relationships are critical with employees. The other relationship that is very important to me is with the unions. They are my partnership. They are my partners in crime. They are my confidants. They are my advisors, very trusted advisors. They are closest to our employees as their members. So their power is really quite great. And the time to build a relationship with the union is not when you're in a crisis. And we all know that. So I work every day in trying to build that relationship, build the trust, because it's only with trust that you can get any cooperation and support from the unions. Just by way of a little story, when our IT organization was going line, they were line reporting to Ottawa. They used to report to me, they were reporting to Ottawa. It was a time of a lot of unrest, a lot of angst in the organization. So myself and the union leader, we decided we were going to have a little committee. And that committee was going to be able to take a lot of the questions, a lot of the concerns, and kind of roll them up the line to let them know, you know, you've got some issues here, you have to address them. These people think that it's every person for themselves. They're very anxious, very stressed. So we had this little committee. So one of the other union members sat there, a junior union member, and he was very disrespectful to me, speaking really out of line. And George, my darling George McGuire, he passed away just last year, he said, "Whoa, you don't talk to Miss Lily like that. She's here to help us." Now, George knew me well before this, because George and I worked together. I would tell George, keep me out of trouble from contracting because I don't want to get written up in the Auditor General's report again. So he was very good to me. We had a really, really good relationship. But that relationship got us through that very tough time, and he was a supporter of mine. So he lost his dad, and I went to the wake, and he said, "You know, I knew you were going to come. It's important. Those life events are very important, and I have to be there, of course." So I went to the funeral. He shows up at the office 3 days later just to tell me how much that meant to him. So George fell ill, and at his wake, I went up to his wife to introduce myself. She said, "I know you. George would talk about you all the time. He told me he could go and talk to you about anything, and you guys solved a lot of problems before they became really big problems." So George is I think my model when it comes to a very trusting relationship with a union leader. And we did solve a lot of problems, and I do miss his presence. So now we're on number 4. This is about partnerships. You see, when you have leadership, partnerships, engagement, I'm going to touch on all three in these examples. This is about partnerships. This is consult the union early. So our wellness program, I told you I was doing all this research. I was getting nowhere. I had this vision. I know where to get. I know a way to get there. I thought, oh my God, I know where I want to go. I'm not really sure how to do it. So I went to my RDG and I said, now, Kevin, I've got to engage the unions because I need some help with this. And he said, no, go for it. He was always really good like that. So anyway, in came two of the union leaders, and I presented them all this research. Oh my God, isn't this fantastic? And look at this, respect in the workplace policy. Look at this about Canadian mental health. Look at this psychological safety. And they're looking at me, and then they go, Lily, you got nothing, do you? I said, no, I haven't got anything. He said, you don't even have a straw dog. I said, nope, because you're going to help me do that. You're going to help me build this because it's doomed to failure unless you guys help me. Now, in the room, I also had my manager of real property safety and security, an OSH advisor, HR. I had those folks too, but we all realize we don't have the market cornered on good ideas. And we are close to our employees. They have a privileged relationship with employees as well. Anyway, they've been in since day one. And every time we have a joint learning program, workshop on creating harassment-free workplace, which is also mandatory, I give opening remarks, the union gives opening remarks. At every workplace wellness workshop for managers and supervisors, I give opening remarks, they give opening remarks. They are there, shoulder to shoulder with us, because they believe in this wellness program. And it was one of the union leaders who was one of the nominators for the Apex Award. So that tells me you better, continue doing what you're doing, Lily, because they are the key to the success, right? So that was on partnerships. That was number 4. This goes faster, by the way, at the end, so don't be worried. Model behavior. This is about leadership. Walk the talk. So if you want to help create a healthy workplace where people feel valued and supported, you're going to have to demonstrate those attitudes and those behaviors every day, because words mean nothing, right? So you have to walk the talk. One of the first things I learned is you never underestimate the impact you have on people around you, whether they're at your level, beneath you, above you. Never underestimate it. So one day I'm at a regional union management consultation committee meeting. All the unions on one side, all the managers on the other side. I'm at the top of the table supporting my regional director general. At the break, the unions say, can we speak to you, please? So I go in, and they're all there in this room next door, and they say, are you worried? Are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm good. Lily, you look different. You're all right. I said, oh, no, I'm good. I'm just wanting to make sure the regional director general has all, the things he needs. And they said, Lily, if you're worried, we're all worried. So I realized, oh my God, whatever I was showing on that face, I better just get the poker face on, because that wasn't gonna do. But they sensed it. So do not underestimate the impact you have on people. I remember, and this is an aside story, but in April 7th, 2017, we had about 35 very large fishermen break into our building at 9 o'clock in the morning. They tore the doors off the entry to the building, and they just went into the building. A week later, we had a hunger striker at the end of our road. They actually closed our offices for that day. Actually, they barred us in. We couldn't get out that afternoon. So I was going from my office around the corner to the boss's office, trying to figure out how we're going to get these people out of the building. We opened up a side road. I had my director of real property safety and security, Craig. He was at the head of the... Anyway, we got all these cars out, but it was a very stressful hour. I'm on the email to the police saying, I need, clothed officers here. They're telling me, Lily, we've got plain clothes. I said, I need clothed officers. I want to see them there. It was ridiculous. Anyway, I go outside my office, and there was union and other employees looking at me. I'm there, hi, how you doing? Everything cool? No problem? Everything great? Go around the corner to the RDG. Okay, this is what we're going to do. Come back out. Oh, yeah, no, everything's cool. We're going to be good. Everything's good. We got this figured out. Go back in, get on that email. The fact of the matter is, I had it under control. The thing is, they needed to know that we had it under control. They don't need to see me freaking out. I don't do that anyway. It was actually kind of a very, the adrenaline was going. So, one other little example. So, I go to, I'm the acting director of this organization, brand new organization for me. And their manager before them, he was a really crusty old fella. And he might come into the workplace and he might grunt at you rather than say good morning. So I come in and I'm a totally different person. And I was walking through this aisle of, there's all these cubicles on either side, and I'm hearing this music of some sort. And I stop and I go, what's that? And the heads go down. They're going, geez, then we're in trouble now. Someone said, Christmas music. I said, well, turn it up. I can't hear it. You never know the impact you have on people. Anyway, that's the model, modeling the behavior. Do you really want to have somebody grunting at you? So, what does walk the talk look like? Now, I have a handout that I could probably give to you, Ian, and you can probably provide to folks. Years ago, I helped develop this guide, Tips for Managers in Creating an Ethical Climate in the Workplace, and it was Walk the Talk, Behaviors for Tips for Managers. So I'm going to read just a few of them, and a lot of it is common sense, right? But you have to remind yourselves that, sometimes common sense isn't that common, right? You've heard that before. So you thank employees when they do a good job. Be aware of the message you may be sending by not thanking people for their efforts. When you give feedback or criticism, keep it constructive and do it in private. You think in your mind now, as I'm saying this, how many of these things don't happen, even though you know it's common sense? Always act as if you were being watched, and be aware that employees will do what you do, repeat what you say, and quote you. Be aware that when you use your BlackBerry during meetings, and BlackBerry, Jean-Francois, people may see this as a lack of respect or a sign that you aren't engaged or interested. And I still struggle with that. Remember that every single person on your team is unique. This uniqueness is an asset, and you should respect and foster as it benefits the workplace. And when people give you bad, disappointing, or surprising news, resist the urge to react openly, as they may think twice about speaking truth to power in the future. And lastly, avoid interrupting, cutting off, or dismissing employees who give you advice. Listen attentively, assess the information, and respond respectfully. So I have that handout, and you can have that afterward. Number 6, ask managers what they need. This is about engagement. Ask them what they need to help them foster a culture of wellness in the workplace. So a part of the implementation plan after the violence in the workplace investigation had to do with creating this or designing a workshop, a 2-day workshop for managers and supervisors, equipping them with the tools and the qualities and competencies to be better managers and better leaders. But again, we talked, myself and a few managers and a few union leaders, and we realized, again, we don't have the market cornered on all these great ideas, so let's ask managers. So I invited 35 managers to a focus group session, and I started seeing all these meeting forward notifications. It really bothers me, because they're saying, I'm not going to go, and you go. No, I'm not going to go, you go. That's what the meeting forward notification says to me. Is that what it says to you? Kinda. I'm so annoyed by this time. We get into the hotel room, 45 people show up. These forward notifications were, I'm going, but you got to go too. We were so tight in this room. It was really inspiring, though, to hear managers being very open about what they needed to be better managers and better leaders. They would use words like, I feel really vulnerable when an employee comes to me and asks me about, it could be mental health, it could be their personal situation. I failed last year. I screwed up someone's life last year. I really didn't measure up last year. And I ruined someone's life. You know that, they said all of that. But we had a much, much better understanding of what they needed in order to perform better as leaders. So engage people. They know what they need. Then you have to design it for them. I did a second focus group in in Corner Brook. And there were a number of people in the room and some people on the phone, and I'm going on, and no one's saying anything, so I stop. I say, anyone on the phone, do you have anything to say? No, we're just listening, Lily. I said, very good. So you're telling me your workplace is perfect. You have no problems. Everything's great. Oh, we didn't say that. And then they started to give me really good input. But there was this fellow to my left, and he had his head down the entire time I'm talking. I'm thinking, oh, my God, he's probably saying, will you shut up? Just leave us be, Lily. All of a sudden, they finished talking on the phone. He pops his head up, and he goes, I don't want to live. I don't want to repeat what happened last year. I lost sleep. I took it home. I don't want to go through this again. He gave me such wonderful input of what he needed. Do you know, after I left Corner Brook, I got an email from him, and something to the effect that you've ignited in me a desire to make this workplace a better one for the remaining time I have. If I could reach one person every time I speak, I'd be so grateful. So I told him a few weeks ago when I was in Corner Brook, I said, you know that story I tell, it's about you, right? He goes, I know. I said, I hope that I reached somebody, because it was an abbreviated sort of talk. And he said, I think you reached a few people today. And he sent me another email, kind of encouraging me to keep going, right? So at the beginning of the course that I talk about, that flagship course for managers and supervisors, I ask them the question, how many of you were hired because of your technical expertise? And every hand goes up. Like, how many of you were hired for your technical expertise in your job? Why were you hired then if you don't have your hand up? How many of you were hired or into management, let's say, because of your technical expertise? Same number, right? How many of you were hired because of your ability to manage people? Hallelujah. They're starting to listen, right? Because at the time, years ago, and even now, I don't think that those soft skills, which are very hard to obtain, right? Those soft skills were ever weighted properly. They were not valued the same as technical skills, right? But they were very valuable, because every time there was an issue in the workplace, Lily, can you take care of that? But never appreciated. I think they're changing, though, right? So I say there's three things, the three wishes I have for the people in the room. One is, and Moira, you can remember these, I bet, I hope. One is that you don't think at the end of these 2 days it was a waste of your time. Like, I'll never get those 2 days back, you know? Secondly is that I hope that we've whet your appetite so that you continue on learning to become better managers, because the course wasn't going to make you go through security like at the airport and poof, you're a leader. No, it starts you on that road. And last thing, probably most importantly, is that you will know that you're not alone, because there are resources and your colleagues, and the system is there to help you. Number 7, find where you can add value. This is about leadership. Find where you can add value. So I'm in communications. I was the regional director of public affairs and then the regional director of communications for Fisheries and Oceans and the Coast Guard, and I was burning out. I received a phone call from the emergency center, and it said, Lily, we have fatalities. Could you please come to the emergency center? I said, yep, I'll be there in a minute. Whatever, 15 minutes. And my adrenaline stopped running. And I thought, okay, I'm in trouble. Because I was going to make a mistake. I knew that if my adrenaline didn't start running, that meant the crisis became routine. And I lost my edge. So I went to my regional director general. Now remember, I'd spent 11 years with bomb scares, plane crashes, search and rescue incidents, near misses, road accidents. It was tremendous crisis after crisis after crisis. You see people you know who've died. It was just overwhelming. So I go to my RDG, I said, I'm burning out, I need a change. He says, well, let me think about that. He said, okay, I want you to go in as the Regional Director of Finance and Administration. I said, I'm not an accountant. He said, I don't want an accountant. I said, well, I got to think about it. So I went back home and I called my mother. I said, Mom, he wants to be Regional Director of Finance. I'm not an accountant. Okay, this is what you do, she says. You go to him and you say, now look, the ball's in your court. Where do you see me adding value in the organization? Then whatever he tells you to do, do it. Oh, God. So I went. So, where do you see me adding value in the organization? I want you to be the Regional Director of Finance and Administration. I said, I'm not an accountant. He said, Lily, I don't want an accountant. I want a leader. I want someone to bring them into the 21st century, and that's you. Okay, I said. So I go in. I don't know what they're talking about. They're speaking English, but it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what a free balance is, or a surplus is, or a carry forward is. I don't know that stuff. And I'm overwhelmed. So the Director General for Finance and Admin comes down, and it's only 3 weeks into my tenure, and he's speaking to me, and 15 minutes goes by, and I say, can I have you stop? Please stop. Dave, I didn't understand a word you just said. And he said, I know. He said, I know. We're going to get along just fine. So obviously, that was not the value I was going to add, because I didn't know about their work. But I tell you, they were the most amazing people, the most amazing teachers. I valued every bit of expertise they had, and I was like a little sponge trying to learn from them. But I had to learn what was I going to do with that information. And oh my God, I found out what my role was, and that was to take the information that they gave me and figure out from a strategic perspective, how do we move an organization forward from a regional budget perspective. And I learned that, but then they got scared when I took out my calculator. And it was one with the Snoopy on it. It was yellow. It was cool. They didn't like that, though. They said, put it away. So before I went in that organization, though, the individual there, the regional director, he was different than me. And when he was asked, who do you think is going to replace you? He said, I don't know, maybe some skirt. So this got back to me. So I went to his office. And he didn't know I was going to replace him. I said, hi, I'm the skirt that's come to replace you. He was not comfortable with that. But I thought, I might as well, deal with it head on. But when I went into finance, it kind of was like a bomb hit the organization, because they thought, what the hell was he thinking, putting a communications person into finance? She hasn't got a clue. You see, because in many professions, you may feel that anybody can do the job you're doing, right? But you can do a little else. That's the way communications people felt. Like anyone can do communications, but communications people can do a little else. So I was always on the road to show different. So another person came up to me and said, what were they thinking? And one person said, well, don't start anything you can't finish. I said, actually, I'm going to start a lot of things, and then when I go, you're going to finish them. At the end, that lady who said that to me came to me because I then got a promotion. And she said to me, Lily, you got us where you wanted us to be, but you did it by being yourself. So you're going to be just fine in this new job. Just remember to be yourself. So you need to find where you add value, but don't put yourself out there as if you're anything other than you. And that's when I said to David Bickerton, I didn't understand a word you said. I think it was a test. He wanted to see, is she going to try to bluff me here? I really couldn't, though. I really was glazing over. It was tough. So find value. The 8th one is empower and value employees. And this is engagement, and this is a really neat story. So when we started the wellness program, it was just a series of initiatives. So we had the wellness it was mental health awareness fair. We had the No Stress Fest. We had all these initiatives. After every initiative, employees would come to me and say, "I'd like to be part of your committee." I'd say, "I don't have a committee." Oh, I'd get emails, "Can I be part of your committee?" "I don't have a committee." It was getting to be relentless. So I went to my boss. I said, "Guess what? I'm going to have a committee." I didn't want a committee. You know why? Because committees have a shelf life, right? They are born, they find their feet, they start running, and all of a sudden they fall dormant. I hated committees. So I said, I'm going to have to give in. So I went to the Regional Union Management Consultation Committee. I said to the union, "Okay, I've given in, we're going to have a committee." "Okay, good. Lily, how big will your committee be?" I said 15, 18 people, just in case everybody can't make it. We'll then be able to conduct a meeting. "Okay, great. But do this for us. Don't send it to the regional directors and have them appoint somebody. Send it directly to the employees and have them put their name forward so you know that they're interested." I said, "Fine, I'll do that." I sent it out June 30th, day before the long weekend. 38 names. I said, "What am I going to do with 38 people on the committee? I can't have a committee that size." And I really struggled with it. So over the summer, I did a bit more research. I'm going to get a committee. So finally, I'm at an IPAC conference. And I'm listening to a man named Julian Stodd. Does anyone know Julian Stodd? He's a social network guru, and all of a sudden he became my idol. And I'm listening to him, and he's talking about social networks, and he's saying these are self-propelled bodies, they are organic, and he was talking all about it, and I said, "Oh my God, I don't have a committee, I have a network." So I came back to St. John's, I called my workplace wellness coordinator, Kelly Patey, who's amazing. I said, "Kelly, we got a network, and I need you to organize these people into a network, but I better go back out and see if there's anybody else who's interested," because I sent it out just before the long weekend. A lot of people are back from holidays. Sent it out. I got 60 names overall. I'm dying. I'm thinking, oh my God, what a network are we going to have? Didn't know what it was going to look like. So 38 people got in the room, though, when they responded to our request to get together, people from all over the region. And I stood in front of them and I said, "Now, listen, I'm not going to tell you how you're going to be organized. I'm not going to tell you if you're going to have a chair. I'm not going to tell you if you're going to have rotating chair. I'm not going to tell you how often you're going to meet. I'm not going to tell you if you're going to meet. I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm not going to tell you what you're going to be interested in, or what you're going to be focused on, or what's going to be a passion of yours. You're going to figure all that out by the end of the morning." And I'm thinking, oh my God, how are we going to do this? But Kelly Patey, who's an amazing worker, I just watched. I participated, of course. And at the end of the morning, we had 6 flip charts, 6 groups of people around each of the flip charts. And we have 6 wellness networks: diversity and inclusion, civility and resiliency, mental health, career development satisfaction, physical environment, physical health and nutrition, and mental health. Did I say that twice? Anyway, there's 6 of them. And every one of those networks, I still don't know if they meet, how regularly they meet. They figure that out. But they come to me on a regular basis, and they make presentations on what initiatives they would like to undertake. And every one of them is amazing. And I am there sitting in awe. I tell them I bask in the reflective glory, and I'm leading from behind because they are self-propelled. And this is not going to be Lily's program. This is going to be the wellness program, because they're going to carry this forward. It's just like telling that lady, "I'm going to start a lot of stuff, you're going to finish." It's not a success if I go, it dies, because this doesn't belong to me, it belongs to everybody, right? So this is how I felt. This was the only way we could make this real. And it wouldn't die unless they actually decided it would die. So that's number 8. Value, diversity, and inclusiveness. Another little story. I'm at a transition meeting. This is when the Coast Guard and DFO were coming together. Really difficult time. And this captain saw me come into a transition meeting, and I wasn't part of the transition team at the time, but I'd been invited by the Regional Director General. And he says in front of me, "Why is she here? She's from communications." And the Regional Director General said to him, "Why are you here?" I get from her a perspective that not one of you can give me. So he taught me that diversity was the key to success. It makes your decisions, your policies richer, more applicable, and they will weather time and resistance. And I have found that I try to surround myself with people who have complementary skills to me, because I am not good at a lot of things. I have many gifts, but I have many areas where I need people's help. So diversity is just so important. Number 10. Is that 9? Oh, God, yes. 10, you need senior management commitment. Now, I've told you Kevin Anderson gave me a gift a couple of years ago when he told me, Lily, this is our priority, and it's really spoken volumes to everyone involved in the wellness program, because I hear comments like, we're really doing this, right? We're really doing this. Senior management is behind this. If you don't have senior management commitment, it's really difficult to push something forward. Because if they see that your leaders don't live this, they don't believe in this, then they say, why should we? Because then they're going against the grain all the time. So that senior management commitment is critical. We have a wellness charter that every manager, every regional director has signed and has up in their office. And they are striving to create a culture of wellness, and there are certain things that they are looking to do. And I check on them to see how they're doing against those objectives. But it does speak volumes. 11. See, we're moving faster now. Continually evaluate your programs. So we have a workplace wellness workshop, right? And it's changed and it's molded as time's gone on, because we get a lot of feedback. One thing we added, there's 2 things we've added. One is we've added a module on virtual leadership, because we have a lot of people in DFO who manage or supervise people from a distance, or who are being managed from a distance. A very, very difficult governance structure. And as a result of that structure, we've had an awful lot of issues in our workplace, and usually those people find their way to my office. So we need to equip managers in trying to make that organization work. And the other is on social networks. We have a lot of incidents in our region where people don't understand the power of social media, and at times they can be the subject of ridicule on social media, particularly our fishery officers. Or our fishery officers might be, undergoing some sort of or undertaking some sort of an arrest or something, but they could be accused of, in our region, what happened a couple of years ago was that they were accused of targeting a 12-year-old boy. And then they were ridiculed, and they live in small communities. And when we spoke to those fishery officers, they said to me, you don't have to be the one in the grocery store, at the gas station, or at the corner store, and to be ridiculed and to be spoken to, and saying that you're no good. You don't have to live in that community. We did not support our fishery officers in knowing how to react or how to manage in the wake of something like this. So we have now a social media response plan, and we're going to start to roll that out with some training for these frontline people, especially if they become subject of ridicule and criticism on social media, which is quite pervasive. So continually evaluate your program so that you're responding to the needs of your managers, supervisors, or your employees. By the way, we also have a 1-day workshop for employees on wellness, which is voluntary at this point, but they've been asking me to make it mandatory. So we're going to do a train the trainer, so we have more people to train all the folks. So it's probably going to be mandatory. The 12th is give meaningful recognition. Now, have you ever heard of the 5 languages of appreciation? There are many ways to recognize somebody, and usually you try to recognize them in the way that means something to them. So the 5, it could be a verbal thank you or a job well done. It could be a handwritten note or an email. It could be a gift, such as an immediate award. It could be a gift of time. And it could be a service, a gift of service, helping someone out, looking over their documents or what have you. But above all, show recognition, because recognition is going to propel this program forward, right? One manager thought the award came in a manila envelope every 2 weeks. That's when we got paid, and that's when we got stubs. Remember that? It goes well beyond that, well beyond that. I do want to just read very quickly an email that I received not long ago from an individual who really credits the wellness program for helping her through. She said, I wanted to take a note to thank you, and she's thanking her union leader. What you've done for me to give a concrete example of the success of the workplace wellness program in our region. You know my history, and I won't repeat it. The first day I walked into my union leader's office and asked for help, I was broken and overwhelmed. I didn't know where to turn. He stood by me throughout and helped me through some pretty rough times. After the Wellness Committee was established, she says it was a committee, it's a network, but that's okay. After the Wellness Committee was established, and she is on one of the wellness networks, and brought my situation to your attention, you interceded in a way that was supportive to both myself and my supervisor and opened a door for us to mend our relationship and work towards building a better one. So many things have changed for me now. I remember on more than one occasion sitting in my car in the parking lot, fighting back tears because I had to come into work. I loved my clients and my work, but I never knew from one day to the next what would happen once I entered the building. My supervisor and I are really in a good place now. She just helped me, mentor me for a competition, and she's begun to continue to mentor me. And then she provided me with an excerpt from what she wrote in her performance management agreement. After the appraisal, she wrote this about her supervisor. It was very complimentary. I'm so grateful to you and the whole workplace wellness movement. I just wanted to say thank you. So it really does make a difference. When people feel that they've got the support and the systems in place, it makes a difference. So the last lesson I learned is that you need to chronicle your journey. Now, I call it a legacy document. I didn't know what to call it, but I just knew that we needed to know where we came from. We needed to know the various steps we took to get there, and we needed to solidify the fact that we weren't going to go back there. I found that in the federal government, we have the Public Service Employee Survey. Used to come every few years, now it's coming every year. But every time a new survey would come, I would hear employees say, management has done nothing. You've done absolutely nothing. We never did a very good job of promoting what we did and linking it back to those comments that were made in the survey. But this document needs to show that we've done something because employees are saying we need this. And we need to celebrate how we got there. And so Communications Group, who's very supportive of me and the wellness program, they have now embarked on a series of interviews with the people who were involved in the wellness program from day one, getting their views on where we were, the journey so far, knowing that we still have the training wheels on, guys. I mean, this is going to take a long time. But we are light years ahead of where we were. It's only going to get better with more people engaged, involved, and taking ownership. So these are some of the lessons I've learned, and I continue to learn every day. And I've only told you of a few of the amazing stories that I've experienced in my career. I want to thank you for your attention. You've been very quiet, and I see that the eyes are open, so it's not because you're sleeping. Although if you can do that without having your eyes closed, I got to know how you do it. It's one of those gifts I don't have. But I'd be pleased to answer any questions you have, and I really thank you for your interest. And I thank you, Ian, for reaching out, because when Ian called me, I thought he was an Ian McDonald from Public Works, and I was talking to him, I'm thinking, that's not Ian. I said, you're not Ian McDonald. I almost hung up on him. No, I didn't. I'm only kidding. But he's been a delight to talk to, and when he said, that would like for you to be the keynote speaker. I was like so impressed. And someone was with me. I said, I get paid twice as much? 0. That's good, though. Because you know what? There's more. I get so much from this, from sharing our story. I really hope that you've taken some of the lessons and maybe even identified with some of the others. And I'm going to repeat what I said at the beginning. Have you ever felt that everything you've experienced in your life and in your career has prepared you for this moment? Grasp it, take it. Do what you feel is right and what's best. Can't go wrong. You can only improve the workplace. We spend so much time here. And continue to create those relationships because they're going to propel you forward. Because at the end of the day, when I go to Winners or Costco or to Sobeys and I see people there with whom I've worked, I would like to feel comfortable enough to say, hi, how are you, and have a conversation. Then I know if I feel comfortable, maybe they won't, but I will feel comfortable, then I will have done something good, right? Any questions? My God. You don't have any questions. It's embarrassing. Okay, thank you, Moira. It's going to be for both. It's going to be we're going to do a train the trainer. We're just finalizing the list of employees who will, so there will be individuals who will facilitate the train the trainer, facilitate the workshop for managers and supervisors. They have to be at a certain level because you have to have a credibility with managers. And then there will be others who will facilitate the employee workshop, right? Right now, but it will extend. You can probably, you can get in there now if you want. Yeah, I knew, okay, I'll put your name down. So here's the thing. Ian has reached out, which was wonderful, right? But I also had a number of other individuals who knew about the award reach out. And one was an individual with the Canadian Border Services Agency, Curtis Clifford. So he and I had grand conversations, and he was really interested in doing something similar in Canada Border Services Agency in Quebec, which is where he is, in Montreal. So he called me one day and he said, so I'm going to do a network too, and I'm going to have this network, and I'm going to have that network, and we're going to do this. And I said, Curtis, maybe you may want to ask your employees what they'd like to do. And then I told him the story about how we created our networks. And he goes, okay, I'm going to do that. It's good. That network that I created with him, that connection I created with him was wonderful. I learned from him. He learned from me. It was great. But then he decided that he was going to send 2 of his managers down, and they took the course on October 3rd and 4th, which was held in St. John's. And the transformation I see in managers in taking this course is really quite phenomenal. So just with the Canada Border Services Agency, they were so overwhelmed, they were so determined that this is going to roll out in Quebec region. And I told them, you can do this in French, and we can do a train the trainer for you. Great. So I'm looking forward to that. In the meantime, I just wanted to tell you, when you have these managers, I walked into the room in Corner Brook. We had a workplace wellness workshop there, and a bunch of the employees were sitting back, arms folded, legs out, going, Lily, we know this stuff. What are you doing? Why are we here? Real victims, not wanting to be there. And so as the day goes on, they sit up in the chair, and then they're leaning forward, and oh my God, they're all in by day 2. And they're asking me questions, and kind of like strange questions, hypothetical questions, like, if you were a manager and an employee did such, it's hilarious. But it was wonderful to see that they saw something in it for them, that this was speaking, to them. So in the workshop, just very briefly, we have a section on respect in the workplace. We have one on mental health. We have taking care of yourself first. We have emotional intelligence. We have a very abbreviated version of DISC. These are personality differences, how people want to be communicated with and recognized, and so on. We have somebody from the Community Health Association of Newfoundland and Labrador, which is a mental health support system or group, and she speaks about a lived experience, and she's phenomenal. She overwhelms people. Her name is Monica. She also does this rap, it's like in-your-face sort of rap. It's a poem. Oh, can't remember. Rant? Anyway. Oh, but it's like rant. It's like, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's like, but it's phenomenal. And we also have what's called a round robin, where we have experts in the room. So we have an employee assistance program person, we have somebody from early conflict resolution, someone from values and ethics, someone from the workplace well-being unit. We have the union leaders there. So they go around, the individuals go around to every one of these people, and they talk to them about what kind of resources, what kind of services, what kind of support do you provide me in the workplace. The biggest surprise to them is this, the unions are there. And now all the managers are frightened of the unions. And the unions say, look, we're here to work with you. Yes, we might disagree, but we're here to work with you. The relationships that are formed as a result, and when these managers leave, I know the phone's ringing off the hook of the values and ethics person or the early conflict resolution person. That's okay. This is all good stuff. They're not alone. And we also have a panel where senior managers sit and we talk about real life experiences and we answer questions. And it's really, really, really good exchange. So I love this course, and I've taken it 6 times, and I learned something every time. It's usually from the people who were there. Right? Yes. Absolutely.
Having us come to sit in like Curtis did?
Yes, so just like Curtis did, yeah, absolutely. And we had the RCMP come. We had our colleagues from Coast Guard. We had over 25 people from Coast Guard since the beginning. And the last one, the Director General of Human Resources came, and he sat through the whole thing with me. And afterward, he said, that's it. We got to roll this out throughout the department. See, I could not roll this out beyond Newfoundland and Labrador because, you know, a lot of the people, I mean, they have their own governance structure. You can't do that. With the Coast Guard, we offered it to the Coast Guard folks, and they wanted to come on board. So, yeah, absolutely. I provided the agenda to the HR Council, which is the general counsel for all of the federal government. So they are looking at it as well. The only way this is going to get any traction is for us to share. This isn't a closed shop.
This is exactly where we're struggling, and it's exactly what I think we need to bring into our organizations.
I have an amazing facilitator named Kelly Patey who was with the Canada School. When we designed this course, Kelly at the time was with the Canada School. We partnered with the National Managers Community as well as the Federal Youth Network. So what the Canada School did for us is they designed a 2-day course, but they designed it as a pilot, and that's why they were able to give me Kelly. They don't usually do that, but they did it as a pilot. So Kelly designed with me the course for 1 day that was specific to DFO, and then the second day it was one that could be rolled out across the Canada School. But since then, she's now come, and the commitment, by the way, for senior management was that I've hired her now full-time. She's no longer a term or a secondment. She is now indeterminate. So that speaks volumes to people about our commitment to wellness. So she is amazing, and she's the one who's going to be doing Train the Trainer. I think she has every certification under the sun. But, you know, we have really great folks who can facilitate these sessions. Right? It's Newfoundland and Labrador. However, with the Coast Guard, they're Atlantic, of course, plus they're right across the country, and some of their managers have taken it from other regions. It is available to whoever in DFO wants to take it, and it's going to be rolled out maybe as a generic course, but I don't think there's anything too specific about it that it wouldn't be applicable across the country. It's pretty generic, yeah. But it's amazing.
Personally, I want to thank you. This has been very, very, one of the best sessions I think I've probably ever attended in my career. Just very inspiring, because you do feel sometimes if you're doing some, I don't do all 13, but I do some, but sometimes you just think like you might be the only one trying. So it's nice to hear that, you know, and again, what you've been able to accomplish is very it was ambitious, but you didn't, like you say, you didn't give up, and it gives hope that in our own organizations we can, mirror something similar.
I have this calendar, it's called Seize the Day. Do you ever hear of that calendar? I get it every year. And one day it said, fall down 12 times, get up 13. And I usually take these with me and I put them in my office, just to let people know that you can't let, I think it's fear oftentimes. People don't want to get behind you because they're afraid of what they might be signing on to. I don't know. But I thought that was really telling. But there was something else you said that I wanted to mention. Oh, I can't remember. It wasn't a lie, though. I just don't remember. Yeah. So I'll give you the walk the talk document as well if you want. It's again, it's old, but it's all the same, right? Okay, yes. Okay, good.